This is a company most people have never heard of, and this company quite literally owns the world. Most US banks are controlled by BlackRock. BlackRock owns all the major pharmaceutical companies. BlackRock owns most of the mainstream media, and BlackRock oversees roughly 10% of all stocks traded worldwide. And this company is now taking over governments. All of this has allowed BlackRock to amass $10 trillion in assets. Yes, trillion. BlackRock is worth half of America's total GDP. It's so crazy that the US and Chinese government now rely on BlackRock to escape recessions, with BlackRock's founder and CEO now sitting on the boards of the influential Council on Foreign Relations and the World Economic Forum. In the words of Henry Kissinger, whoever controls the money controls the world, and no other company in history has had this much global influence. And what's even crazier is that BlackRock did this in just 34 years. But you want to know the best part? You've probably never heard of them for a reason which will become clearer later on, because after you watch this video, you will soon understand the real-world consequences of BlackRock's vast control.
Full-scale invasion, the likes of which we haven't seen since World War II, of Russia into Ukraine.
And those high gas prices mean the cost of everything that needs to be transported is on the rise.
So then how could BlackRock gain so much influence over the world? How could BlackRock go from being just a boring investment firm to the most powerful company that has ever existed? Well, to start, we have to delve into the past of how Larry Fink made BlackRock. Larry was born into a wealthy Los Angeles family in 1952, and from the start, he was always hungry for power, with his early years spent pursuing a career in politics, where he would gain a BA in political science from UCLA. However, he soon enough realized that politics isn't where the real power is, money is. Following this, he changed his focus early on to go into banking and real estate. And while at college, Fink was immersing himself in the world of the rich and powerful, having been a full-time member of the secretive Kappa Beta Phi, a group that's members included Michael Bloomberg and the Goldman Sachs chairmen. Fink took full advantage of these connections and started a career in the mortgage bond department at First Boston, a boring New York-based investment bank. This was where Larry would make his mark on the financial world, because over his time at First Boston, Fink became one of the highest earning employees, generating over $1 billion. He was unstoppable and it seemed like he was going to be crowned CEO. Larry became an expert in these little understood investments during his time. However, this success didn't come without a price. He wasn't going to make this money for someone other than him, and so he began creating a ticking time bomb, and only he knew how to defuse it. So in 1986, his risky practices and ambition caught up to him. After a few too many risky trades, Larry made a huge blunder. He lost $100 million of this bank's money in just the space of months. All the goodwill and reputation he had gained was crumbling into dust, leading to him being banished from First Boston. It seemed like world domination was just a silly fantasy, that he would never make it to the top. However, Fink wasn't giving up his power this easily. Instead, he would use this disaster to his advantage, vowing to make risk management and avoidance his main focus from now on. And so after becoming unemployed at age 36, Fink would team up with some of his old connections from Kappa Beta Phi, and in 1988, BlackRock was formed. In no time at all, Larry was making bank. In just 5 years, BlackRock went from being worth $5 million to over $8 billion. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. During this time, a power struggle would emerge between who would control BlackRock's future, because Fink wanted a bigger piece of the pie. He didn't want to share his plans for world domination. So in 1995, he would pressure one of the co-founders, Schwartzman, to sell their stake in BlackRock for $250 million. A stake that would now be worth over $12 billion alone. But after these power games, Larry Fink's path to world domination was unstoppable. Larry Fink became more and more powerful over the next decade, but this still wasn't enough for his ambition. Now earlier on, I mentioned a ticking time bomb that Fink helped create in his early days at First Boston. Well, this time bomb was now ready to explode, and in 2008, the worst financial crash since the Great Depression struck the world.
Traders saying this is the craziest day they have ever seen in these markets. Veteran traders saying they've never seen anything like it. The movement in oil prices so fast.
The most serious recession in decades. And that means life, as most Americans know it, is about to change.
And the best part is, this was all under Larry's control. Larry Fink's mortgage-backed securities had been the fuse all along. And because Larry Fink knew the 2008 crash would happen, BlackRock's focus on asset management sealed them from the crisis. In fact, this disaster was an opportunity for Larry Fink, because Larry was the only man on Wall Street who could fix this crisis. And so with Larry's personal connections with the Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, BlackRock secured an uncontested contract to manage the assets of multiple banks that crumbled during the crisis. Exploiting this disaster faster to become the most powerful man on Wall Street. But still, this was only Wall Street. This still wasn't close to world domination. So how could Larry Fink control governments and the world economy? Well, BlackRock made another breakthrough by offering ETFs. Now, this might sound quite technical, but ETFs are a type of investment fund that puts money into all the companies in a certain industry. And these new investment funds proved wildly popular because of the stability and solid returns. And unsurprisingly, BlackRock became the largest player in this new market, reaching the top of its industry, sucking up money from everywhere using its new money management platform. From the biggest banks to the smallest retirement funds, BlackRock had a hand in it all. BlackRock was starting to control everything. They bought stakes in pretty much every major corporation on the stock market. I mean, if you look into who owns pretty much any major company, you're almost guaranteed to find BlackRock's name. Larry could also see the power technology would have in the future economy, which is why BlackRock poured masses of wealth to build a supercomputer that analyzes what investments will make money. This program, named Aladdin, would go on to manage over $20 trillion worth of assets for BlackRock. For context, $20 trillion is more than the entire United States' GDP. BlackRock would then use this money and its assets to further exert their control over the economy, and now they are inextricably tied to governments. And like 2008, the Federal Reserve hired BlackRock to manage their investments to protect them from coronavirus-led recessions. And BlackRock has used this dependence to grow their empire even further, allowing Larry Fink to be a billionaire oligarch that holds unprecedented power over not just the economy, but the entire world. He controls trends, culture, foreign policy, and the banks. He has world leaders at his beck and call, with BlackRock overseeing assets worth 10% of the world's global economy. BlackRock now owns stakes in every industry, from media companies, banks, oil companies, and weapon manufacturers. And in recent years, the consequences are becoming dire as Larry Fink begins to exert his control over the world.